Thanks for waiting through Zoom, which we hope that we're all getting a little bit more comfortable at this point in the pandemic. We have been working remotely in the time of COVID, doing a three-way collaboration between Figures of Speech Theater, uh, the Cedars, a retirement community based in Portland, and we also are playing around with Falmouth High School students, both from the theater, from a theater class and a couple different musical classes as well. We've been working together to create stories using a method called time slips creative storytelling, where you hand out a bunch of photographs. Everyone's holding an identical photograph in their hands. And the facilitator begins to ask open-ended questions. Who is this person? What are they doing? And where are they going next? As the participants, the storytellers, answer those questions, somebody dutifully scribes them, and we begin to create a story collaboratively. In this case, we've been working with folks from a memory impairment floor in the Cedars. And Time Slips allows us to create stories together and to celebrate all of ourselves as creative individuals without the pressure of knowing the right answer. It allows us to celebrate ourselves for who we are right now. So we've been conducting some remote time slip sessions, students assisting me in facilitating and the residents joining together in a room over at the Cedars. And then the students have worked with me to adapt those stories for film. And we've had some assistance from the band and chorus at Falmouth High School to give us a soundtrack for the film. So without any further ado, I'd love to jump right into the first story. I'd like to mention once again, please make sure that you are muted, bottom left-hand side, best view for your screen. Go click on view in the upper right-hand corner, select speaker view instead of gallery. And I'd like to invite you to add questions that you might have, comments, anything of the sort into the chat window. At the end of watching the second video, we will dig into the chat and see what there is to find out. But right now, enjoy the show.
Making Better Lives for Your Kids by Diane, Philomena, Lil, and Tom.
He's a miner. He works in a mine. He has a carbine miner's lamp.
I can't think of any other reason that you would use a miner's lamp for.
The man is smoking a pipe. He's waiting for a ride.
Coal dust wasn't enough to destroy his lungs. He thought he'd use tobacco.
Some people say a man is made out of mud. A poor man's made out of muscle and blood. Muscle and blood and skin and bones. A mind that's weak and a back that's strong. You load 16 tons. What do you get?
Seems like he's holding a lunch pail. He has paint in his pail, or something to put in the pipe.
Or he has sandwiches.
He probably goes to work very early.
I equate it to the fishermen who go out at 4 a.m.
They take many sandwiches with them. Probably 6 or 8.
The coal mine hired him. He's been working there for probably 10 years.
It supports his family, but it's hard work and dangerous.
He might come across explosions and a loss of air.
He has to work, even though he knows there are many dangers in there.
He has a family to support, and that's the bottom line.
Some coal mines use canaries to warn them of gas.
If there's gas, The canary stopped singing.
He's thinking about what to do next in the mine. He has to find a way out.
There's a small train on rails. It's going to pick him up and take him in.
He's thinking about making it through the next day. That's all he knows.
He probably has a full family, with a wife and at least 2 children. Maybe 3 or 4.
Thank God he made it home. That's such dangerous work.
They're in debt to the company store. They give you coins that you can only spend at the company store. They own you.
He doesn't give many coins to the kids. It depends on how many kids.
There's not much left over after you pay your bills.
He would wish for another job to get out of the mine.
It's terrible, Danger. Waiting to see who's going to get out?
Most of them just want their kids not to follow in their footsteps.
You load 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store.
Cedars. And first of all, I want to throw out a big thank you to Ian and Figures of Speech Theater, as well as all of the students that we collaborated with at Falmouth High School. It's been a wonderful collaboration, although definitely a unique one this year, as I think we'll perhaps hear more about at the end during our Q&A session. So I wanted to speak to everyone a little bit about what time slips is like for the residents here at the Cedars. First of all, the Cedars is a senior living collaborative community here. We have everything from independent living, assisted living, to long-term care and skilled rehab. And that's where we are right now. We've been working with our long-term care residents and Ian and the Falmouth High School students in creating these great stories. So we have a 90-year history here in Portland. So we're independent and not-for-profit, and we have that allows us to have great community partners here in the greater Portland area. All right, on to time slips. So the time slips program is great for us in general because it allows us to get creative in ways that many of our other activities they just don't have that available. It's a very unique way where people can access their self-expression and creativity and sometimes tap into their personal histories when one of our pictures that provides inspiration to the stories taps into something that a resident is familiar with, either something they experience personally or something that they have a connection with through a friend or a relative. It's really interesting what comes out of these stories that we perhaps have never heard of before. And the way that it's presented really allows everyone to participate at any level that they're able to. And you might think that, storytelling in front of others may be anxiety provoking or maybe there's a lot of pressure, but really the program, the way this is created, just really lessens all of that and allows someone to contribute just one line of a story or sometimes even just a gesture. And we record everyone's contribution, no matter how big and small, and really celebrate everyone's participation. And we see that the group really comes together, and it could be one person to a whole room full of 16 people sometimes. That takes a skilled facilitator like Ian to pull off successfully. But the group will puzzle through, like, what is this person doing next, or where did they come from, and even like take turns and say, well, why don't you give the next line, because we haven't heard from you in a little bit. They really share um, that social experiment together. This collaboration with Ian and Falmouth High School has really taken this to the next level, which you saw in that first film there. And the intergenerational aspect really just brings our residents alive, I think. Our residents feed off of the energy of the young people, and it brightens everyone's day when we have students involved. And they did a wonderful job bringing their energy and enthusiasm and engagement with our residents, and makes it really something special to be connected to the broader community, especially in these times. So I hope you enjoyed the first film as much as I do, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next one. Thank you so much.
All right, Rachel is our technician, our Zoom technician, and she's currently looking into the audio feed. So we're going to try something. She gave me the caveat, asked me to pass it along that if this doesn't work, she'll need to restart the video. So I'd like to ask you all to close your eyes and take a deep breath and wish for a clean audio feed. We'll begin in just a short moment. Thanks.
Love Lost, but Found by Shirley, Mary Lou, Diana, Sandy, Gwen, Harriet, Georgette, BJ, and Ruth.
She is falling asleep. One hand. She has
Love Lost, but Found by Shirley, Mary Lou, Diana, Sandy, Gwen, Harriet, Georgette, BJ, and Ruth.
She's falling asleep.
One hand. She has one hand on the piano.
Is this thing stolen?
She's at a store trying it out. She wants to buy a piano for herself.
No, for intriguing him.
He is the boyfriend she can't acknowledge because he's from a different family.
Love Lost, but Found by Shirley, Mary Lou, Diana, Sandy, Gwen, Harriet, Georgette, BJ, and Ruth.
She's falling asleep.
One hand. She has one hand on the piano.
Is this thing stolen?
She's at a store trying it out. She wants to buy a piano for herself.
No, for intriguing him.
He is the boyfriend she can't acknowledge because he's from a different family.
Her name is Madeline. She's sad because he's leaving. He's going to war.
She's playing a sad song. They're the only kind she knows.
The people around her wish she would play something jazzier, not just a sad song.
They say, "That's enough."
That's
enough. She does come up with a jazzier song. It makes her feel better.
The people around her feel better too.
The store owner is pleased.
He is pleased because he doesn't like any boring songs.
She smiles. They applaud.
Woohoo! Yeah! Woohoo!
She notices her boyfriend in the crowd.
What does she do?
Probably not much, but she's really into him.
I think she runs towards him and throws her arms around him.
But he rejects her.
He rejects her.
He's coming to tell her that they're breaking up because he's found another woman.
She goes back to her slumped position at the piano.
A moment later, her next-door neighbor appears. He says,
You know I've loved you ever since we were children. You're such a kind person.
Aww.
She feels good and disappointed.
Prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there.
Welcome back. So we will be hosting this event, as I mentioned, and I'm gonna go ahead and drop in the videos with the music timing, eliminating the lag on the audio. That is, so you guys can see a clean version later if you want. Again, I thank you very much for your patience, as we had some Zoom and OBS integration difficulties. I'd like to remind you that we still have time to add some notes into the Q&A down in the chat there, but I have a few already to start rolling with that. And I'd actually like to introduce some of the students. Dee Dee Waite, the theater teacher there at Falmouth High School, she's wading through remote rehearsals and lack of close proximity and things like that. And they've taken a break from their rehearsal today together to come and give us a little inside perspective about their experience. So you guys can unmute and take it away.
All right, do you want us to start?
Yes, yeah, please. That would be great.
Okay, so we're just all going to introduce ourselves.
Hi, I'm Zoe.
I'm Sophie.
I'm
Rod. I'm Ava. I'm Emily. And we did the acting, and so Zoe and I just both wanted to share some of our thoughts on this before we leave to go to rehearsal. I did this last year, and it was definitely a very different process because we could actually visit the Cedars. And we did a lot more work with Devin and with Ian at the school, but they were both really interesting experiences. And I really liked getting to meet some people from the Cedars and hear them tell the stories. And it was really fun both years. And I'd never heard of time slips before my junior year. And it was just a really interesting process and an interesting way of combining psychology and theater in a way that I never thought about.
Cool. I've never done this before, but I really enjoyed it because it allowed us to learn new perspectives based on different people's ideas with stuff that I hadn't thought of before. So they'd look at the photo and see something different than what was given there. So I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. And actually, Zoe, that ties right into our first question. I'm going to put you on the spot and you can hot potato and send it to somebody else if you want. The question is, did the students learn any new info from the residents?
I think I learned more about stuff that I didn't know a lot about. So it was interesting learning about the company store and how the kids had to follow in the miners' footsteps and they really didn't have a choice. So I kind of knew about the stuff, but I learned more based on what they had said.
Yeah, and we all learned what a carbine lamp is, huh?
And then Ava had another response. The question, did you learn anything from the Cedars?
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, there were a lot of little details that I wouldn't have known. If I looked it up, I wouldn't. I feel like it's was really more of a detailed perspective, and I really, really liked it because it kind of added their own touch to it, and it really just made the story flow better and made it definitely more entertaining and more fun to watch.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. I have, I'm here manning the window for questions. And let's see, how was the music chosen? Is our next question here. The music actually, one of the reasons that I selected these stories from amongst the, dozen plus that we created during our few months working together with the Cedars, is that music was intrinsically a part of these stories. In fact, over there, the second piece that we just watched, Love Lost But Found, over there came out as we were telling the story. I asked, well, what kind of song would they be singing? And a resident broke into song and then was joined by other residents, and we sang right through the first verse, which luckily I knew how it went. And so we always look in when doing time slips, we always look to engage not just the storytelling part of ourselves, but songs are a wonderful way to engage memories, deep connected memories, physical memories that are buried within. Also movements and gestures and faces, all of that we try to capture as the story is being transcribed. Thanks for that question. The next question up is, how did you create the pieces? Once we had the stories in hand, I took the stories, the song that was connected to the stories, and the initial image prompt back to the students, and we discussed what stuck out to us, brainstormed a ton of ideas about how we might adapt it, what media might be fitting, and what tones fit certain scenes and others, which characters we needed. And so rather than a kind of hierarchical top-down playwright, director, designers, actors type format that's typical in theater, we used a devised method. Which means that we start with this fomenting all these ideas, share them back and forth, and refine and help each other to finally come to a final product together. Devin, our illustrious visual artist connected with this product, says that they loved the dancing, and they also watched a very long YouTube video about carbine lamps. Let's see, what will you take from this creative collaboration into future products? Certainly, there's been, as we keep mentioning, the pandemic's on, everybody knows that. And this is the second project that I've done remotely like this. The first one we were kind of thrust into mid-flow during a collaboration with College of the Holy Cross and a couple of retirement communities down in Worcester. So this time around, I was able to think a little bit more completely about how we would pull this off. And I have ideas now on how to kind of front load some of the collaborative sharing, and also how to use the technology as a bit more of a tool than we had set out to do this time around. And truthfully, I think that we're all learning a lot during the pandemic that we don't even realize yet. So I try to keep my mind open to, rather than thinking about things as necessary or band-aids or, we'll just do this until we get back to normal. Like what can we learn right now that may be applicable down the road? And I think that, working across communities, I think of the small islands off the coast of Maine. I think of my grandma down in Pittsburgh, and different folks who we just can't reach out to physically all the time, and how we may be able to carry some of this, the positive connections that we're having forward out of this. Let's see, other questions here. Besides the pandemic, what was the most challenging part of the creative process? It's a little hard to parse those out. I would say the timing is pretty tight on these projects. We began in early October. We missed a couple weeks because of Thanksgiving break. And we did we are kind of concurrently telling stories through time slips, picking stories, learning about our different options of what we can do with it, and then diving in at the end with a kind of breakneck pace to create our adaptations.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that.
Hit me, Dee Dee. I'm going to bring you up on the spotlight.
Oh dear, but all I wanted to say was that one thing that I think is really important for everyone to understand, which I think they probably do, but in school, we normally see our students 3 times a week. And when Ian was with us last year, he was in 2 of those days often. This year, we have 1 day a week with students. So we literally had 45 minutes a week, 50 minutes a week to pull this entire thing together and to get them on board with understanding what the vision was. And for a director, that's always a challenge with young people because this is a very different vision than maybe the ones they're most used to. So I agree. We're learning how to circumvent all kinds of things by learning this technology and how to use it appropriately. I'd also like to say that I did watch the footage this afternoon with the sound intact, and you'll love it when you see it with the sound intact. It's amazing, a huge difference.
Thanks, Dee Dee. Cool. We have one more question here before we cut out and enjoy our evenings and finish shoveling snow or whatever we're doing at home. The question is, I'm curious how the perspective on quote unquote performing shifted when taping at your homes, etc. Did it still feel like performance? Unfortunately, the students had to boogie to take off for their rehearsal process. But you can tell as the project goes on and people begin to gain more of an idea of how the whole thing will come together. The quality improves, the kind of, I'm going to cut myself off because I've got a student right here. Ellie, I'm throwing you on the spotlight.
Okay.
Speaking of home, you've been at home for the past couple weeks during our process, right?
It's very different to try and put together something like this when you're not all together and like having time to work together. So like I had to find a blank wall. So I was like recording in a bathroom. It's very difficult to find the right space or the right like props. But then once you see it like come all together in the final product, it feels more like a performance.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Ellie, you want to share anything else? That was a lovely answer, and you can be off the hook.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
I also think, and I think Ellie, you might back me up on this, that this is where the lack of time because of the constraints of COVID, I think, hurt us. I was watching Chris, who videoed himself at the very end of the process, and yet I think that we had gotten so much more comfortable with what we were doing because sometimes we were videoing during class that he just threw himself into it with such abandon. It was so beautiful to see that. And again, time is our enemy in time slips in this particular year. So hopefully when we do it again, we won't have that constraint.
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So let me open it up real quick. We have Nick there in amongst the residents. And so I just want to give him a moment since he's not like right by a keyboard. Hey, Nick, do you have any questions or thoughts from the room?
Let's see. Hey, Ian.
Nice library.
You like that? So no questions so far, but I'm getting thumbs ups from the residents, and they said that they really enjoyed seeing their stories put to film.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I think that's all the time or all the questions that we have and all the time that we have as well. Once again, I will be sharing this, I'll be sharing the footage tomorrow. I'll be sharing a link, and so that will contain, I'll cut in the appropriately scored and timed audio there. Thank you guys so much. It's been wonderful to have people talking in the chat and a little outreach here as we're all isolated. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and enjoy the holidays. Ciao.